Recording is started.
All right, good evening. So the September 2024 meeting of the Board of Commissioners for the South Whidbey Parks and Recreation District is called to order at 6:02 p.m. We do have a quorum present, and we will begin the evening with public comment.
My name is Paul Richter, and Soren and I are here to ask you if you would consider a mountain bike skills park at some point. So just briefly, a little background. Soren has really gotten into mountain biking in the last couple of years, and in trying to follow him, I've learned how much the sport has changed since my youth. And while Whidbey has some great cross-country trails, when we travel to some of the areas nearby, Galbraith, do the others, usually a 2.5-hour drive. The skills we need to ride on those trails are quite different. Most of these trails have berms, jumps, drops, other features, and we would love it if we could have access to a skills park to develop those skills locally instead of having to drive half day there. I think Parks and Rec has some great opportunities. I have a flyer to pass around. I just learned that maybe one of the spots that I thought was awesome is in Parks Land, but I don't have my eye on a specific spot yet, but would love to ask if we could have a chance to talk a little more in depth about this to learn what feasibility might be required to make this attractive to the park. And one other piece is Soren's uncle was a former director of Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance, so we have a pretty close connection there. In fact, I had a call with a couple of their present board members this week. They would love to help anywhere from concept development through technical review and help with identify funding sources and that sort of thing. So we could offer that up here. Appreciate that. Would love to hear more.
Thank you for the visuals. That helps. And I will, I'll pass those on to the two commissioners and physically in the building so they can see it. Yeah, and just something we mentioned earlier, but I would invite you to reach out and let's set a time you can sit down and, hear more specifics. I'd be happy to talk some challenges and opportunities and all of that, and probably include Tom in that conversation, our park superintendent. But yeah, anything, everyone else is pretty content. So
Great, right?
I appreciate you making the time.
Yeah.
So what grade against Storm?
I'm in 8th grade.
8th grade. Oh, all right. So the
Soren's in the advanced class, aren't you?
Yeah,
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
this was great. Super helpful. Appreciate
Big thing.
it. Have a great evening.
Yeah. Did you have a comment you wanted to make, or
Oh,
just
I 100% support mountain bike park.
Okay.
We're all about cycling trails,
Oh, yeah.
on mountain bike. Yeah, yeah, you should talk.
Got a future triathlete there.
I would teach.
Yeah.
Easy.
But did you have a public comment you wanted to make beyond that, or are you just here to listen?
I'm here listening.
Okay.
I'll be.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you. You guys are welcome.
Thank you for your time.
Of course, did it. Appreciate you making time to come.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
We will move on then to the approval of the minutes. Has every commissioner had an opportunity to review the minutes? Are there any questions or changes, additions?
Nope.
If we're good, make a motion to approve.
Yeah. 1 second, please. I think I had some. I think I'm good. Okay, go ahead.
I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the August 21st meeting.
I will second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the regular meeting minutes from August 21, 2024. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, I.
Matt, aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion passes and the minutes are approved. Right, Matt, we'll move on to the treasurer's report about.
We got it
Okay,
now.
can you put it up on the screen?
It's up.
Okay, not seeing it in the meeting environment.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Let's see what it is. Try to be sure to see if that does anything for us.
That looks better. Yep, got it. Okay. So this is the cumulative report as of end of August, and you can see important to note the favorability that we highlight there. So we're 619,000 favorable to budget. You can see the zero line, the crossing point. We're not 619K favorable to that. We're favorable to the budget line, which in this part of the year goes below the line, as you see. So that's the favorability. To zero, we're about 125,000 favorable, but the instructive is versus budget. So that's why the graph may look a little odd when you look at it that way. Out of that 619K, 455,000 of it is favorable just because we have not executed the capital. So our capital budget, if we had executed or if we had been executing it on plan, that 455K favorability would not be there. So just as a reference point, and we're going to make up some of that between now and the end of the year, but not all of it. So our capital budget for the year is around just under something like 982K. And this has been moving a little bit because of the ARC stuff, because of the pickleball, but the core original budget capital items, paving projects and water projects and other things, again, we just have not been executing to plan. So that's where some of that favorability is from. If you look at the revenue, you'll see it is favorable, just about just under 100K favorability. And again, that's cumulative for the year. If you look at the expense profile, you'll see the rest of that favorability, again, the bulk of it due to the unexecuted capital. So we're still net favorable, but certainly not by $500,000. The fund balances show the dramatic shift with the first issuance of the bond, but with that removed, we're still on plan. You'll see, again, as we talked about a couple months ago, the evolution of our fund tracking. So we have a construction fund now, and things will be moving in the coming months to show that, so we can keep clear visibility of M&O outside of that. But suffice to say that M&O is on plan, or total fund balances are on plan, including the update to our fund profile with the first issuance of the bond. Any questions on that before we move to the updated voucher list?
Looks like no. All right. Thank you, Matt. Scroll down to the vouchers. Just a few new ones worth highlighting. You see the Hamer environmental study that was part of the aquatic center here. I think the version you had might have said this was for pickleball, but actually it's for the aquatic center. We had to switch that. We had to test the wetlands in a couple different places. Found out they weren't wetlands, which is good. But that was one of the requirements that came out about a month ago. A couple of big annual fees came out this month. The Heritage Bank, which is the money owed for the campground property. Biannually, we pay about $15,000 each 6 months. And then you also see the Peak software came out. This is the annual amount for the registration software that we use, Sportsman. So it's about $3,200 a year. So those are some different things that came up since the vouchers were there. Everything else was pretty standard, with just regular maintenance and staff. Any questions about the vouchers?
An updated one on the table or no?
On the table,
No.
email.
Email this afternoon. Okay, thank you.
Actually, that's not it.
And is your updated total, Brian, still 118,932.01?
Yes, there,
Plus the construction.
yeah, plus the construction fund, it's just this one, yes.
Yeah, that's M&O, and the construction total is 20,
22, 591, 50. There's the
Yeah,
construction.
okay. Okay. Any questions on the vouchers before I make a motion for approval? Okay, with that, I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers for M&O in the amount of $118,932.01, and from the construction fund in the amount of $22,591.50.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the voucher list for the M&O fund for $118,932.01. And from the construction fund, $22,000, $591.50. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, I.
Krista, I.
Matt, aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion passes and the voucher list is approved.
Can I go off script just for a second with an idea? Carrie and I were playing with earlier just to see if this is something you might be interested in. A lot of places with minutes and with vouchers and with construction fund, and even for standard purchases, like maybe Tom's Diamond does, put these items on a consent agenda. So instead of approving minutes separately from the vouchers from the construction fund, you just approve the consent agenda. So we put them all under one item. They're called the consent agenda. If at the meeting, any commissioner wants to pull an item off the consent agenda to talk about, like let's say you have questions about the vouchers, or a concern about something, anything can be pulled off during that time. But on a standard month where there's no concerns, all of those items can be wrapped up into one vote. Anyways, just something to consider that might.
By saving the resource of time.
Yes, I would be in favor.
And again, there's no risk in that. If anyone has any concerns,
Right.
you just say, I like this thing off the consent, then it becomes just a regular item like it is now. So might mainstream the meeting a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, my personal perspective is I find value in this detail level review on a monthly basis, and I don't think the time savings would be that dramatic, but that's just my opinion.
I do appreciate Matt's review, especially at this point.
Well, the review would still happen.
The review.
The treasurer report, still the treasurer report. We don't get rid of that.
Okay.
And what I was describing was the review of the vouchers. I mean, I can't say that I've had a month in the entire term I've been on the board that there was not a question from a board member on the voucher list detail at a single meeting. So if it was rare that we talked about or asked questions about specific voucher elements, then to me, that'd be one thing. But the fact that as a regular pattern of behavior, we ask questions about these things, which I think is great, I would be less inclined to push it into a lump approval without that detail as a general approach. Again, just my opinion.
I find it a valuable use of my time.
There you go. All right, we can leave it the way it is. That's fine. Just don't have that for consideration.
And just another, I mean, we could still do the review of both of those items, but just do one approval.
Oh, that's a good point. In other words, we can keep the system.
That's the way I took that.
Okay.
Still
That's
have
a good
questions about it.
So then you're just approving one thing, and it's all of those things lumped together.
It's one motion.
It's one motion.
That I would be fine with.
And again, if there's a
I
problem
still
with something,
would like
someone can
to-
still take it off.
How do you feel about that, Matt?
Yeah, no, I think the thing I would like to preserve is that detailed review, which I think we all engage in on a monthly basis. So yeah, combining the approvals at the end, for sure.
Cool.
All right, we'll make that change next month.
Thank you. All right, we shall move on to the staff report.
And the first on this staff report is the quarterly recreation update. Mr. Sky Dunn.
Forgot to put music with it.
Next time.
So that in for a little bit. Probably have like, what, like 3 weeks till that kicks in?
Yeah, about that.
I can't wait. The park is so.
It's still good stuff, yeah.
Yeah, you've been allotted 2.5 minutes. So just- Actually, that's kidding.
You can move to the next slide. So adult programs, this is kind of our down quarter for the year, the one time where we've had the hustle and bustle of summer, we're getting ready for everything that's starting at the beginning of the year, basketball seasons, been gearing up again for all our spring and summer stuff. One of the initial hurdles we hit right away was the flooding of the high school gym, which then, yes, the high school gym is flooded. So that gym is no longer in use right now. They've been having to, the school district has done an amazing job of reaching out and communicating with us and working with us to make sure they're not affecting whatever it is that we had previously planned. There's some work, having to shuffle or move a little bit here and there, but Scott Peacock, John Summers, Gail over at the community center have all done a really good, the best job I've experienced so far of communicating with us.
And 2 of those 3 are new positions. Those are new
Yeah.
people that we're dealing with. So that's great.
So for adult programs, weather's starting to turn, so we have the 14 sessions a week right now. Once we hit October, November, that'll kick up to 18. We have some skills classes, and then we're gonna try something new where we're gonna try to get a round robin league. So basically, one individual signs up. There'll be 12 total people that sign up. We'll play with the 11 other people as a partner one time, randomly against everybody else, and then we just kind of keep standings and points. So it just adds a little bit more competition to it for the people that kind of want to see where they fall on the pecking order. Volleyball, we moved that to 1 time a week right now, just because the high school volleyball games are currently at the community center, and the middle school has had to move all of their practices over there. Another good piece to the gym being flooded, the silver lining to it is the insurance covered them buffing and re-waxing the floor at the community center, which probably had been like, I don't know, 10,
Many moons.
long time. It was an ice rink, so the floor is actually gorgeous and very functional right now, which is great. Starting in November, we have foot sole 1 to 3 times a week. We'll figure that out once we know how far along that gym's come along down there, because they might have to move all the middle school boys basketball down there. Ballroom dance with Jules 1 time a week. That one's been picking up month by month by month. You'll see the lineups coming up: salsa, waltz, cha-cha, and West Coast swing. She'll also take requests if you have a certain dance you want to learn down the line. She'll get that going for y'all. That one will be moving over to the South Campus gym beginning of October, and then the Groove Dance Fitness. That one's at the main gym at the community center 3 times a week, 9 to 10 a.m. With punch cards available. She's got a steady group that shows up there, and I receive rave reviews about her classes.
Jules is a superstar. I mean, we really are lucky to have her. We got her from a random conversation between Matt and her at an aquatics event, some kind of foundation, something. It was, yeah, she's a real benefit to the
Full background, legally in dance, raised with it, owned a dance studio in Houston for a long time, so.
yeah, and just a real lovely person to work with.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and the connection was her son is part of the high school swim team. And so they had participated in the district swim meet up in Anacortes, and we had gone up there as a part of the JACC to survey that pool facility during that district championship to look at the layout of the floor and the deck space required for an event like that. And so then they showed up at the foundations event, the information session at Bayview Hall, talking about, just informing the public on the pool plans. And they showed up, and they were very interested in the project and what the parks was doing. And then, so we had this longer conversation about things that she was doing at Athletic, and that's what led to the contact with Ryan. So it's great that you guys have taken that and run with it, because I think it's great. It's been a great addition to the, fabric of the community. So.
Following that up, we got dog classes, reading with Rover, basically getting a dog trained to be a 30 feet dog, so you can take those into classrooms and just picture shows, you can have the dogs hanging out with the kids while they're reading to them or somebody else's. We have our nose work classes, intro, intermediate, advanced, those all up at the dog house. Foundational stuff.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I was just looking at my dogs. With that one, we've also started working at times where they might, depending on how the use is in the park, we might work with them over at Trustland Trail so they can do some nose work over there. But they also need lots of new spaces at times for them to sniff around. So it seems to be working out quite well for us. Youth programs, Magic Camp. That one was another fun one where we had to switch at the last minute because we were told we couldn't use this space that we were in right now. So thankfully we're able to use the elementary school gym for that one on short notice. Youth basketball, little dribblers for first and second graders to be starting in November. Our youth rec league registration, we're hoping to open November 1st. And then we also have the prior high school coach, Kevin Tempest, is running what he calls We're Beyond Animals basketball. Which leads, it's more skill building leading into the switch season, which is the travel league that's up in Skagit County, and also within our rec league. We have 2 age groups, grade 3 through 5 sold out, grade 6 through 8. We got about a 2/3 capacity, I think, but we were definitely surprised how quickly all the grades 3 through 5 at this time of year, just because usually there's still soccer and baseball going on right now. But he picked days, Fridays and Sundays, where it seems not to interfere with any other sports that are going on right now. So hopefully there's some really active kids out there. A lot of my time at this time of year is also spent just dealing with scheduling. So I wanted to give just a sample of, I keep the schedule for the community center gyms, for the South Campus gym at the elementary school, the school district. I keep the calendar for the soccer field at the elementary school, and then for our own fields. This is currently everything that we have planned, along with what the school district is using on our typical week right now, between the 2 gyms at the community center. And with that, we kind of have to bounce around because again, they're having high school volleyball games there now, so sometimes they're getting 100 cars there that they normally aren't. Bleachers are getting pulled out. People are running everywhere around, but it's all working out fine. And then this is our usage right now at the sports complex. So you can see how much soccer. I mean, everything on the bottom is pretty much soccer. We do have some select teams that are working throughout the days. And then on the far right is Saturdays. That's all the different games that are going on Saturdays on all of our fields.
Plus Frisbee.
Plus Frisbee. There's a big ball in there.
Fridays open.
Fridays are wide open. Nobody ever wants to do anything on Fridays. I throw it at them all the time, but every week. So,
And keep those legs fresh for the games.
yeah, so we're definitely putting the septic system at the complex.
Good stuff.
We're testing it on Saturdays for the most part.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Any recreation questions for Sky?
I was asked by someone this week if there's going to be a fall/winter
Activity guide?
activity guide.
We'll have one for the winter. The fall one, getting everybody's information together in time to get that thing worked out. Like it just doesn't seem to work well. So we're doing right now, I reached out to the new salesperson that's taken over the Woody Weekly, and contacted her about making sure we have something that's leading up into the end of December. So it's more a New Year one that's gonna be January through April.
So in the interim, they should just come to the website.
And I'm coming to the website, sign up for the emails, because I'll send something out just kind of with all the activities that we have going on, but the calendar, like, one of the things, changes I've made over the last few months is making sure that our website calendar is everything that we have all in real time. I update that with any changes that we have, so that should be, it's got links through to everything, different webpage we have.
Disc golf, the gentlemen that were meeting, right? Didn't you have a group that was consistently playing or?
I had a group, so we did it's the Woodby Island Disc Golf Group, and they did the free, like, instructional session, and from that, I just kind of said, like, you know, I'm open to ideas, of what you have to do. They're very open. There's definitely a core group of people that are on the south end that have been having to travel to Oak Harbor for the most part, anytime they wanted to play. I told them, like, if you think there's a better place to, you know, we have the three baskets, and I said, if you think there's a better place to put those somewhere around here, and they did move them actually to a better place, because it's kind of off, not on the fields to where you guys are mowing a lot of the time, and they put it to where they find it a bit more technically difficult for them to be working with. But they do want to find some time in the future where we could maybe do some kind of tournament. They could help bring, because they brought, you know, extra holes so that we actually had a 9-hole course going. I mean, and of course, they're always gonna have the pipe dream of, hey, can we use the trails and everything in between? Which, you know, I have to explain to stuff people hiking around, nobody can get in that. Yeah. But, you know, they're a good group. They were open to anything. Like,
The reason I'm asking, are we leaving the 3 targets out then on a regular basis? So they're out there. Okay.
they're all out there kind of,
pickleball area, so they won't be there much longer.
yeah.
I'm asking because kids are playing in school, high school and middle school, and they're asking us, hey, park and rec, because we talk about how Oak Harbor and other places have places where they can play. So I told them that this is in the mix, and so the question I have for that group is if there's regular times or how open they are to maybe getting young people involved as well would be really cool.
I think they would be. Yeah, definitely. I can reach out to them.
So they're bringing their additional targets.
They did that one day.
One day, okay.
The one day, and they were open to working
Yeah,
with more times to try and find to do that as we move along into probably the next spring, where they can regularly do something.
gotcha.
But right now, yeah, we have the 3 that are up. Basically, like the trail from the sports complex that goes into the woods where the pickleball courts will be, just like both sides of that, you can see all 3 of them. So it's not on just the flat soccer fields, it's on the hills, kind of back by the trees, tucked away here.
If kids want to go up and play, they could actually go up there and play.
Oh, yeah, those 3 are there all the time. Yeah, you can definitely go.
Any other questions for Dan?
I actually had someone today ask me, are you guys feeding wild animals or something? What are those feeders doing out there in the middle of the field?
Where those feeders.
Well, it looks like an elk feeder or, you know, something. And I'm like, oh, no, that's frisbee golf.
Interesting. All right, go ahead, we'll go on to the rest of the staff report. Tom and I interviewed 3 candidates for the open Park Technician 1 position last Friday. This is Chance's old position. We made an offer and are in the middle of background check for a young gentleman, Tyson Henry. So, yeah, seems like a good fit, young, good to see him. Yeah, be a good addition. Tom's, particularly this time of year with everything growing, that'd be good for Tom to get back to full staff. The new fence line, the new fence that's going along Fields 1 and 4 Community Park is scheduled for October 7th. So McBride got us in on the schedule pretty quick, which was great. We're a little worried that was going to be pushed back a little bit. And if you go to the sports complex today, you'll see beautiful new asphalted parking lot. Looks great. They got it all done in a day, which was great. This Tom and his guys got up there yesterday and they saved us a good amount of money because they did all the striking. So we borrowed the machine from the school district. They cranked that out basically yesterday afternoon. So The sports complex is complete, looks great,
Almost.
almost complete, a little bit of fine tuning.
We have like handicap stencils and stuff like
The
that
blue.
we need to do. But we can do those as the weather permits, so.
Yeah.
The big thing was just knocking out, getting all the cells repainted. That's a big job.
Soccer's playing tonight. We'll talk about the maintenance shop part of that later as one of our agenda items. My report, we have started moving. New staff location across the street. That is where next month we're gonna do our board meeting in our office. We've got a space for that. We're gonna kind of see how we like it. There is a possibility of maybe using a different room in the school if we don't like that location, but the board meetings will be across the street now. As Carrie said, we did reach out to the county just to say, check the availability of this room for some of the little stuff we do, and they said no, it's just because they've got stuff they're planning to move in, which is okay. And then backbreakers will be here on Friday. We're closing the office Friday. In addition to the first couple days next week, we'll see, maybe it won't take that long, maybe we'll be open sooner, but, there's a lot, there's a lot that goes into a move. So I'm just speaking slowly, allowing her to come back. So yeah, so moving's fun, but if you're gonna move across the street, that's what we think. So, and while there's a little bit of polishing, as I said, you'll see we do have the new Max Wilton trails. She's doing a little bit of thing, but this will be the new map that will have the distances. They also have all the school trails there in the white, so people who grab this can walk our trail and then see at some point down the line, it'll be fun to put names on these trails. Right now, they don't have names.
That's my question.
Anyways, but for now, we've got nice maps that are online. They're also available in paper copy for people to walk in. And also, Claire, who's been working on these so generously for us, is making a few other tweaks to make it a little bit more polished. So
I had a question about that. When you say online, which apps are trail?
it's on our website right now. It's
Okay,
not on the All Trails radio.
all trails are in.
It will be because we have a membership in that, but we're waiting for Claire to give us the updated version with all the, she's still doing a little tweaking. But we'll put up, that's the one that'll go on. I don't know, but we'll update that. He's also doing some work on Trustland, just a little bit. There's just one extra little trail that's been added since the last time it was done. So she's gonna update that for us too, so.
What, Western access?
Yeah, yes.
And then does that include going to the sound loop, the sound phone?
The wind phone wasn't put on the map, but but it's there. Yeah. Sky and I met with Brenda and Sandy Lusk to discuss the triathlon. Good conversation. We're gonna meet again in October. I'm gonna show you, I put this in the packet. Triathlons, it's a big featured event that we do. But Recreation 101 is when you're doing programming or events, it's got to do one of two things. It's either got to make money for the community or it's got to serve the community at a big level. Last couple of years, it's been struggling. You'll see this year we lost $5,000, and that's out of pocket cost. That doesn't count the extreme amount of hours that Sky pours into it, preparing and all the other staff time. So that's, $5,000 isn't killing me, but then you realize that over the last 9 years, we're only getting about a 22% participation rate from people in our community. So 22% last time. So the conversation with Brenda and with Sandy was Brenda deserves full credit for reaching out and starting this conversation. We're going to meet again. What we're talking about is basically how to drum up some new ideas, some new support, some new people. We're talking about enhancements to the event. We're talking about maybe doing some skill sessions in the spring and summer that maybe some people that are nervous about triathlons, we can kind of help them learn some of the ropes so that maybe they're more. So it's a good conversation. We're going to keep the conversation going in October. Sky and I also looked at that grant that Crystal sent, thinking that might be a good fit to see if we can get some outside funding, to help support it. So we're working. It's been around for a long time, so we're working to keep it alive. It needs some fresh breath. And thoughts on the draft. And Sky's here too. It's obviously his event.
I have one question. So back to the
percentage,
Sorry.
I know that there were 2 years that's not included
Right.
there. Other than that, it's a 9-year average. Do you happen to know specifically what the average was for 2016 to 2019, the years like right before COVID?
There's a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I mean, I can.
Yeah. I don't have one here right now, but that's an easy thing to find out.
And then
Because those were bigger numbers too, obviously the margins there were different, you're getting 200-300 people at the events.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this is some of the stuff that you're already planning to discuss, but, thinking about what kind of programming that could support participation. And, certainly there's a very strong open water swim community. I know the biking clubs are getting a lot more organized and doing a lot more. But it is older. I'm thinking about what kind of programming that can possibly bring in some younger people. And I don't have any specific answers. And then with running specifically, there used to be like some couch to 5K groups. I remember one that Carrie and I were in years ago. And I don't know if any of that is going on right now, but maybe there's some programming that we could do to get, that is just to get people out and moving, but that can then perhaps feed into the triathlon specifically. And then with that, like, does the school still light the track in the winter?
So. Not recently, they wouldn't let us. It'd be a new conversation to have. There's new administration, new athletic director. So that is something that we definitely could approach them about. I know the one concern that they've had in the past was you turn on lights. Yeah, it wasn't a concern so much about the track. It was that the lights are on. All of a sudden you'll get soccer and ultimate and whoever else showing up at night to play there because there's a night venue that's lit.
Right.
And they're trying to keep people off of that field during soccer and football season.
I've witnessed teams out there in the frost playing on that field under lights.
Right.
It's like not a good scenario because it's unregulated.
With this programming piece, I mean, we had our initial meeting with Brenda here, and I mean, that was something we broached right away, was like, how can we have something that's kind of driving this into it? So with the cycling club, it's more just finding the individuals that are willing to give their time to that, be it through a class or be it through volunteering. So we can always put out an APB to the community through social media saying, here's what we're looking for, or we can utilize the local clubs also.
I think our thinking is we'll meet a couple times as a smaller group, and then, Brenda's got a bigger group that we might expand the group to get some more thoughts. Obviously, too many cooks in the kitchen can overwhelm, but the initial thing was full of really practical ideas, things like how to make the event, a little different, how to get volunteers, how to get people interested, maybe, the idea of a duathlon was thrown up, that maybe that's an option for people that don't want to swim. So you can do triathlon, and then people who opt out of the swimming portion because they're intimidated by it or whatever. So again, more participation, more people.
Yeah.
So lots of those, everything's kind of on the table.
The easiest part of that thing, but.
But I think it's the one that scares people the most. I think, maybe I'm wrong.
What's the easiest part? This one.
Coming from the water first.
Such a short swim. But anyway, and then my other question was just what, curious about what are the trends in triathlons outside of this community, like nationally?
So I pulled that up heading into our meeting with it, and there's a big spike around 2011, and then it kind of was dropping off to like up around 2019, then the world disappeared for a while. And so the data now, I mean, it only went up through 2021, and what they had with it. So it's the best I can go off of is, other triathlons, smaller triathlons that I talked to, Mike Love Baby Bikes that, is doing the timing, and the individuals that I talked to, they said, yeah, it's, their numbers haven't been as good as definitely they were in the past. It's hypothesizing, the reasons why. Some people got a new hobby when they had COVID and they were doing something and they came out of it wanting to do some triathlons, and now that's done. And so now we're back to, what the status quo is. When you were bringing up youth, that was one of the ones where when I was doing the research where, the youth trend has gone down, but, the reasoning with some of it is it's an expensive sport. There's usually there's the equipment that's involved with it. A lot of times, people are traveling all over to these events to go do it, but it's not necessarily, it's not like the local 5K where you spend $30 and here we go. So, it's, if there's ways to help offset some of that, yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, bikes aren't cheap either. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're working on it. Excited. I mean, like I said, I really appreciate Brenda and Sandy and the initiative that they took right away, right after the triathlon, saying, "Hey, let's brainstorm." And I think that's gonna pay dividends. So
Yeah, and just from knowing the two of them, they have probably the most experience in the local community on South Whidbey in triathlons, kind of writ large. They've done short ones, long ones, local ones, regional ones, national ones, international ones, duathlons, triathlons, big, small, so in terms of seasoning and being able to provide us good input and advice from a broad range of experiences, I think those two particular individuals are just about the perfect pair to provide us, the best input going forward. So I think that's fantastic that they stepped up.
What were the years you wanted? I have that right here.
2016 to
Like the couple of years right before COVID.
Oh, so the couple of years before COVID, we didn't have anything in 2017. So, our percentage, for 2018 was 12%, for 2019 was 21%.
remembering that you're 21% of 300 is a lot better than 21% of 150. So
Right.
you did have more people involved too. So that's part of it.
But still,
It's
but again, looking at the local.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Okay, good. So we'll keep updating as the conversations keep moving with ideas. I think that's exciting to breathe some fresh life into it and some fresh ideas. So, all right, that is. And I will be at the NRPA conference the first week of October. One of the interesting sessions that I signed up for, the William Shore Pool out in Port Angeles. One of their staff is doing a presentation along with a person from a Montana Aquatic Center. Their presentation is opening a new aquatic facility the first 5 months before opening and the first 3 months after opening. It was written for us.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, that's a great. That is the staff report.
Yeah, and just one comment on that. William Shore was the one that opened at the tail, right about into COVID, like worst case scenario. And they went from something like 200 people a day to 1,000 people a day in, I don't know, the first 6-9 months of operating. So they went through the mill, they went through the really hard ramp up. So in terms of having advice, again, another great source of advice on how to handle the public showing up in large numbers and ramping up quickly. So those are great. I don't know the Montana people, but the William Shore people are fantastic to talk to for this exact question.
Be a good presentation. Look forward to it. All right.
Move on to the camp comprehensive plan programs. This,
No, we have committee
I'm
and
sorry,
community meeting reports.
that we do, committee and community meeting report.
Talk about that now, or wait for the comp plan, we can put it in the section.
We can wait for the comp.
Okay.
Campground stuff. It's in both places, so.
It's not a committee thing, but since we're just talking about conferences, I just want to mention that I also will be at a conference. And one of the days is hold on. It's the State of Washington Responsible Outdoor Travel Summit. So it's one day all about responsible outdoor travel and things like that. I will share with you, everybody, what the topics are. And I will be sitting there with my hat on.
There you go.
Good jacket.
Okay, I'll do my job.
Is that
Vancouver, Washington.
There's nothing else, we ready to go on the comp plan report?
do it?
All right.
Unfinished business, comprehensive plan programs.
All right, well, we had our pre-application meeting with Island County last week, that was. Okay, so a few unexpected hoops, like getting a septic permit, even though. People are playing pickup, the argument is we'll be adding more people to the park, so that will cause more septic issues. Which I pointed out that there's already pickleball courts in the park. And we're replacing those, basically, we're adding 2 more. They also would like us to get a building permit for the hitting wall, because it is considered a wall and the wall is more than 4 feet. So. Anyways, so a few hoops, the design team after our meeting, the main principal went on vacation, so he's back now, so we'll be setting a meeting next week. It's moving forward, it's just these are the hoops, we gotta jump through, it's fine. Good news, exciting news, it's actually an RFQ, not an RFP, for the project manager for the aquatic center, closes tomorrow. We've already got 3 proposals in. Tom and I have taken 2 on-site walkthroughs with different companies that wanted to physically see the site before putting their bid in. So yeah, really excited to see where we get that. The process is that it's a request for qualifications, so we will screen them for their qualifications. If they meet the qualifications, we'll do interviews. And then this company then will be kind of our right hand through this whole process, the experts in a lot of the, seeing things that we won't see and asking questions that we may not have. So it's gonna be a real valuable part of the team. So that closes tomorrow.
One of them, a local.
One of them, one of the guys has a house off of Goss Lake. So
Who was part of the interview panel?
haven't said that yet. So I'm sure Tom will be on that, just for obvious reasons, but so excited. That's gonna be a really big step for us to help that out. And then the campground, which is what Chris could have reported on during the committee things, but it kind of double laps. Chris and I and Jake, the campground committee, did meet. We met this last Monday. The issue is, actually, let me pull up the visual that I gave them because I think it helps. In 2015, the district got, we call it an unvoted on bond, basically. It's a limited bond for $500,000. And this is what bought the property that the campground is to be on. We purchased the property, obviously. During the same time, we received a grant, or around this time, from our CEO, and we received reimbursements. That money, at least $190,000 of it, is still in our possession that we got reimbursed. After consulting legal, Pacifica, Deanna specifically, that $190,000 is still attached to the bond, so it has to be treated like bond proceeds. And one of the first things she said in our conversation, she also put in an email, was that the IRS is not going to like the fact that you've been holding on to $190,000 for 9 years. And so basically spend it, is what she basically said. So our discussion kind of circled around, okay, we have this campground project, and that is kind of the capital that we're thinking about for things like matching funds. We also have to create a site plan because nothing happens in this project without the site plan. I I thought, we also talked about the idea of maybe contracting with a grant manager. And maybe could this money be used for that? Maybe hire someone that can go after some bigger funds. Found out a lot of things. Bottom line is, we found out that the bond money cannot be used for a grant manager, okay? We also found out that our site plan, I think, will be a lot less expensive than we thought. Because what happened was the county had 5 versions of the site plan on file with us, and they didn't know which one to pick. So in looking through those, you realize they're all kind of similar. So I went back to the architect and said, listen, we want one plan, one project, one time. How much is it going to cost? He did not respond yet, but I don't think it'll be more than a few $1,000s for most. I don't think it's a major undertaking to update that. But the decision now for the board, and I'm going to let Krista speak too, is our legal is now telling us we should be spending 190. She actually said in a separate conversation, because Tom wasn't privy to that, Tom said he remembered that the goal was always to put this money back towards the principal. So right now we owe $409,000 on that $500,000 original loan that we had, the bond. So, you know, the obvious option here would be to take that, the majority of that 190,000 minus whatever a site plan would be, and put it back towards the principal. Right now, that $409,000 is due to be paid off in 2045, so it's 21 years left on it. Obviously, paying this money off would shrink that down dramatically, at least cut it down. So, anyways, Chris, I'm speaking a lot. Do you have anything did I miss anything?
It's fine. No, thank you actually for that summary. So especially once we found out that we couldn't put the money towards a grant writer, which because we will need funding for this project. The other issue with the project is there's not really going to be time to work on it until the aquatic center is done. And the timing of the site plan and the permits, because once we have a site plan, then we should be getting permits, and they are good for 5 years. 5 years.
5 years, the shovel has to be in the ground by 5 years.
So that puts us on a timeline to get funding to move forward with this. And do we really want to be under that gun? But nothing's gonna happen until we have those permits. It's a little chicken and egg. But especially since with this new information about how we're actually a lot further along with the site plan, and that spending a little bit on it to finish it up and get this moving, both Jake and I felt like, let's get the site plan done. Let's at least put that to bed, submit it to the county. Maybe we can drag our feet a little bit.
Once we hand that to the county then hands us the updated to-do list. Here's the other stuff you need.
Yeah, so.
The journey starts there.
Right, and then, the fiscally responsible thing to do is to take what's left of that money and apply it towards the principal of the bond. So that at least we can do that. And reduce, some of our payments. How much are we paying twice a year?
We pay $30,000 a year towards this loan.
I guess it would be the end, right? It would probably
It would shorten.
shorten the term. I think we would see it in the short term, so perhaps in the interest portion.
So,
Yeah, because it wouldn't be recasting the loan.
Right.
right,
10 years from now, maybe paid off instead of 20 years from now.
Right.
which is good, is a very good thing.
If you said it, I missed it. If you didn't, then I'll ask the question. Do we know what it would cost to finalize the site plan?
The message is out. The guy that's what we deal with J.E. Brennan, who created it the first time.
Right.
He was on vacation through Monday, so
Okay.
I emailed him Monday and left a message, and he hasn't responded yet. I'm guessing a few $1,000s. I'm guessing because they have 5 versions of the site plan. They're all from J.E. Brennan. We just need them to take the word, because the campground committee feels at this point, if we're gonna go for it, let's go for the whole thing and not try to do this in phases. And so the updated site plan just needs to reflect that.
So we're Guessing less than 10.
I would guess. Unless-
Yeah, I would allot 10.
I mean, literally, I take white out and probably change a few things on the ones we have, it probably, it's fine. I mean, really, it's not that drastic a change, because the base of what we want and showers, bathrooms, all that is pretty uniform in all the versions that they have.
I think my question is like, would the IRS mind if we waited one more month so that we could have that information and then
Oh, sure.
just perhaps decide once we have that at the next board meeting?
Of course.
It's like at this point,
So then we
Right.
get specific.
then we can be specific and we know it, because I don't, what I'm not comfortable with is making a motion of, well, up to X amount when we don't really have an amount, you know what I mean? Like, I would rather have some specific numbers.
Yeah, and yeah, at the end it was very clear that it's a bad, IRS would be not happy with this. She didn't say like, you're in violation, you're gonna get fined. It wasn't like.
Right.
Like you did it now or you're in trouble. It was this, you don't want to get this caught in denial. So I think next month would be very reasonable.
Yeah, I think, wrapping this up this year is definitely doable,
Oh, absolutely. It's a good idea.
but would like specific dollar amounts.
Are the 5 different plans just progressive, meaning, you submitted one and why 5?
They moved it a little different than I could have brought it with me. They, one had a little different emphasis. One was talking more about the topography, one was dealing more with, yeah, I don't know. They didn't even know. I mean, because this has just happened over 9 years, so.
I have an idea, but go ahead, Tom.
Well, what happened was we submitted phase 1. And then people left, and then the next person came in and said,
From the county.
well, wait a minute. What about phase 2? We need to see what this plan is, and then we submitted another one, and then, oh, well, what about the septic piece? So then we did more septic tests, because they said, well, you can't submit without the whole thing being finished, and you have to show your restroom. So it was just a constant evolving. They made us do more and more and more. We never got anywhere. So
Various interpretations of the code, and then we had to jump through that whole
Yeah.
hoop where we,
Interesting.
with the whole campground thing, remember with the South Whitby Park or State Park
But it
and all
seems like
that
that's
thing.
progressive, like you end up with a final document, then, they're asking you to submit more. It's hard for me to understand why you have 5 different, don't they have a finalized version then, since we've been going through the process?
Yeah, it could have been five different people from the county asking for it. And like, hey, can you update it? Sure, here's an updated version.
I think that was a lot of it.
requirements.
Yeah.
So it just got changed. It was,
Right.
So I believe where we had kind of last landed was that they weren't going to accept a plan or issue permits unless we had the water designed out, right? Not the septic designed out.
septic, more sewer, more septic.
Yeah,
But
we don't, we
we
don't,
were also looking at our water plan, because we had to update our small water system management plan, because we couldn't do any expansion until that was done. So we hired people to help us get that complete. And then with the pool, then we said, we might as well look at, we need to bring clean water to the pool. We might as well stub out and be able to take clean water to that front. So it's been multiple layers. It's just been a mess.
so I guess what I'm saying is I don't think we're gonna be able to get permits without further plans beyond the site plan and the actual
Right.
design work, it seemed like.
For septic and maybe water.
I think you're gonna get a final one turned in. You're gonna have a whole other list of things to do.
Things to do.
This won't,
And you won't have fun stuff.
So, but one site plan will give us the first step. I think that's what we're doing here. I mean, the quote we got from J.E. Brennan that finished the designs, which is something the county implied that they would like, completed set of designs, was, a little under $500,000, which we don't have even with this money. So now that was, again, things change when you have different conversations with the county. But I do agree with Chris, it's logical that the first step is just get one site plan, so when we're communicating with them, they know exactly what we're talking about. It also makes sense that by the next board meeting, it's very possible that, I get more details as to not only the cost, but maybe even a visual of some of what it would be, so.
well, and I brought this up 2 or 3 years ago, as the timeline was ticking, hey, we gotta spend money. I kept asking Doug, I said, we need construction documents. We have no construction documents. What are we gonna put out to bid? He's like, we'll just put something out to bid. I'm like, we need construction documents to go out to bid. So And J.D. Brennan provide those. I mean, this really shouldn't be that much. We're gonna construct a road that's 16 feet wide, and you're gonna have this layer, and this layer, and this layer at the top, and, you know, but we never really got that level of detail. And so, just my suggestion, if they're gonna provide a site plan, let's at least have some form of construction documents. So if we find a lot of money, you got that, you can go out to bid.
That'll be the next phase when we have money. I mean, that's gonna cost more. They have the documents ready to bid through CD. Was the $474,000 quote. They might want to get us something before that stuff. They broke that down piece by piece. I can tell you what each one cost. But to table this to the October meeting is logical. Green.
So the
Yeah,
board
and-
wants,
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, sorry, just two quick comments from historical and from the treasurer. I think your note there, the Tom recollection on our intent was to use those grant funds to repay the loan. Obviously, the project was not, the project plan was not firm at that time, so there was uncertainty. It wasn't like we're taking 100% of it and immediately repaying the loan. The idea was, in general, the intent was to repay the loan. So I think doing what we're doing, what you guys are talking about doing, makes a lot of sense, and I think it's the reasonable thing to do. Just from a order of magnitude standpoint, and I haven't run the numbers on the exact loan terms, so it's just a guess, but that roughly 190K pay down in our loan over the life of the repayment would result in about $100,000 reduction in the total interest paid back on the loan. So we'll, just as an order of magnitude, that's what it represents in a savings to the payback.
I can get from Heritage Bank, we can get how much time it would take off that too. So, yeah, that's significant.
Could you share that itemized list from Brendan? With Jake and I, please.
Yeah. Trying to make a notes.
so I just wanted to make sure, I was gonna put this in the minutes, so it shows our intent to pay off that money. Use the funds for that. So what you guys want before next meeting is the amount for updating the site plan. And do you also want the amount for what he was suggesting, the construction documents, or just the site plan?
We're gonna get it for the site plan. I think we have it for the construction documents. I think we have that from J.D. Brennan.
Okay,
And obviously, if we go out beyond the site plan to something bigger, it's probably that's gonna have to go up a little bit.
Right,
Um,
but you can confirm what the cost would be for the construction document.
yeah, I have that document. Actually, I can send that document to you, which would have all that. Yeah, so we'll also get the information from Heritage Bank, which will kind of tell us how many years it'll take off.
Okay. Yeah.
We have to give them,
That'd be great.
we have to give them like a 3-day notice before we pay anything to or something. So
Great.
there's some hoops to jump through. Erica stepped out for just a minute, so should we wait just a heartbeat before we proceed, since the next topic is kind of the big topic?
But Carrie, did you get what you needed for
so
the?
yeah, I was gonna say that, you're gonna figure out the figure for updating the site plan with the intent of using the remaining funds towards paying off. the loan.
That sounds right. Right. Ready to keep going?
We are, so let's move into the SWPRD current status.
All right. Well, a little PowerPoint here. I'm gonna keep it in this format just because I want to be able to manipulate the slide as we talk. Last month, we started the discussion about the cost estimates and being over right now and how we can adjust some of that. We're gonna talk about some ideas and some possibilities for you to consider. But just, I know we've had these conversations verbally, but I just want to really lay out the importance of this conversation is what happens if we get a bid we cannot accept. I've had this conversation not only with ARC, but with many people that have done some major constructions. And this is kind of a summary of kind of their thoughts on this. The cost of not getting a bid we can, so if we open up the bids in 5 months, 6 months, whatever it is, and it's way over what we can afford. Here's what happens. We have to first pay more money to AOC to go back and redesign. First, we have to decide what has to go. So that means something's gonna have to go out of the design that we have. ARC said it'd probably take 4 or 5 months if we were on top of things. In other words, if we had quick decisions and we're giving them quick feedback. Each month is another month of escalation costs projected about 100,000 a month. So the guesstimated, and it is a guess, that if we had to say no to a bid and have to go back out to bid, it would cost around $800,000 of lost money. If that's 800,000, then it would not flow into the pool. So that's just lost money. The other thing one of them said was the risk, if you do this, if you don't get a bid, is that some bidders won't bid twice. They'll be like, I'm not gonna waste my time. It's a lot of effort to put this together. You've made all these changes. So the summary is just that we'd have to reduce the facility by X amount plus, and this slide was not in your packet, so I appreciate you taking that picture. We'd have to reduce the facility by however many million we're short. And then another 800,000 would be lost because of the escalation of the ad services. That's why it's an important conversation. I'm not trying to scare you, maybe I am.
And how much time would this
4 or 5 months, he said,
minimum?
if we were on top of the list. Because we obviously would have to tell them what we want taken out basically to get it down to the number.
But that's working with them, then the time going back out to bid again.
That 4 or 5 months included that.
Okay.
Included that going back. And again, it's all guesstimates. And again, the goal is not to have this happen. So I'm giving you the nuclear option of why this is an important conversation. If you look at kind of the budget overview, and I put a danger zone in about the $29 million. This is where, internally as a staff, we were talking about rather this should be here. 29 is $1 or $2 million over at this stage of our current budget, which is 27 million. The second number is workable. Everyone I've talked to said the same thing, that, if you're $1 million or $2 million over your estimates at this point, I know it sounds like a lot. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm telling you what I've heard 3 different sources tell me. There's some wiggle room towards the end if things get ugly. And so this danger zone is what we want to stay as far away from. The farther we are from the edge, the better. I want to kind of walk through this because I think we talked a little bit about these in July, and I think I didn't do a good job explaining. When we put an alternate bid item in the budget, there's zero risk at this time because we're not saying we don't want something. What we're telling the bidders is we want you to give us 2 different prices. We want you to give us a price for this, what we want, but we also want you to give us a price for this, what we don't want. So we want staff offices. We want you to give us the price for that, but we also want you to give a price that we have to pay for each staff office so that when we open up those bids, have flexibility. So if we're right on the edge, that's something the board then can look at that time and make a decision. So the decision today is just to give you flexibility. So to me, the deductive alternates are no-brainers because even though we want the items we're talking about, there's absolutely no risk in putting them in that item. It's just going to give you more information to bid open to make a bigger decision. So there's 3 deductive alternate items that after talking with ARC in depth and working through all the different scenarios, what are the big ticket items that are left that we can talk about that would make an impact? So we came up with 3. One was reducing the staff offices, basically take your admin offices and moving them offsite, keeping them offsite. You'd reduce 75% of the admin offices, which right now we're about 1,000 square feet. That would save roughly about $750,000 out of the bill. You'd still leave about 250 square feet there, so there'd still be an office for a business manager, for someone who's on site to have a private office in the back. The 2 party rooms is a huge deductive alternate. What that would mean is that the other room becomes a multi-purpose room. So Monday through Friday, it's a fitness room. Saturday, Sunday, it's a party. So it serves both functions. Again, everything we're proposing we don't like, but these are the big ticket items that can be considered. And the third one was going away from Bertha and going back to a concrete pool. They did say they think 525 is a little higher and they expect that number to come down probably closer to 400,000 when the new cost estimates. We're expecting new cost estimates, like I said, probably early to mid-November. But still, that was another big chunk of change. I will say, as I noted below, the first two items were vetted and approved if needed by the JACC and the foundation. They had no trouble really with the first two. The MRFA wasn't talked about, just because that was a later submission that we came up with. It wasn't something that was in those conversations. So they just didn't have an opportunity to chime in, lack of a better way to put it. So that's the first chunk of change that I think that there's an opportunity for savings. And I'd like to kind of compartmentalize them a little bit and just focus on these three for a second and get the board's opinion on these.
And I'll just make one comment on the verbiage on the slide that when we talked to these were part of the dialogue with the community in the public meetings, our parks ones and the ones hosted by the foundation, the ones organized at some of the other stakeholders like the schools and the seniors and that sort of thing. So that number 2 was their party rooms and they're also community meeting rooms. So, there was feedback we got along the way from various people in the community who wanted to have rooms, obviously, to rent for parties, that sort of thing, but also concerns expressed to us about the lack of meeting spaces in the community. And, we face that ourselves as a district. So that, you have it labeled as a party room, but it's a party/community meeting spaces, right? So just make that comment. And then the second one, I just have one data point on the concrete versus Murtha. We had that's always been highlighted as a cost delta by ARC, by ARC, with the caveat that they don't really do the pool work themselves. That's always a subcontractor. In this case, it's Aquatic Design Group out of San Diego. And then they further subcontracted to this company called the Pool Company down in Tacoma as part of the kind of cascade of subs in this project. We went out to a company called WMS Aquatics, who had actually came to visit our site. They're the guys who do servicing on pools, and in the local area, Oak Harbor, they sell chemicals and accessories. They're doing the Lopez Island pool. They basically do the Northwest, many of the pools in the Northwest. And their commentary was that the costs are just about equal in the end, that there really isn't much of a difference. Like I said, ARC maintains that there is this somewhere in the range of $400K difference. But my personal feeling from talking to the experts is that there's really not a savings that's offered there. So.
So the administrative staff offices, basically the staff who were working at the aquatic center would be based there, but the rest of park staff would not be.
Yeah, like I said, there'd be room for a couple desks there. So for instance, business manager, maybe an HR manager, someone who had business on site there more often would have space there. We may also just have an open desk so that me or Sky or whoever could go and just, we'll have laptops now too. So it isn't like we need that because they be at a desk to work like we used to have. So there would be space for people like that. But then we would keep offsite case, or we'd be thinking, it would change our thinking and okay, what's our long-term option for our staff team to find space? But we pay $1,300 a month for the space across the room. It'll take a long time at $1,300 a month to get to $750,000. So it's not none of these are my choice. I mean, really, none of these are ideal situations, but these are some of the tough things that would at least keep you off. It's all about options. Even Matt may be 100% right. Earth and concrete might come out very similar. So when we opened up the bids, you might see those as similar, and then great, we'll do a Earth pool. That's perfect. I mean,
Given that we live on one of the largest fault lines in the entire region, concrete makes sense.
Carver's been there 40 years. It may.
These aren't no's, they're just a separate.
It's just giving you information. All we're looking for now is to give you guys in 6 months or whatever it is, we throw the bids in front of you and say, here's what you got. We've got to make the numbers match.
All right, so you're saying it's a 5.25 difference. Matt is saying from the research and conversations he's had, there's not that great of a difference. Is that what I heard you say?
Well, ARC actually thinks it's probably closer to 400, but the last cost estimate, and then we're gonna get updated cost estimates in 2 months. But if Matt's right, then when we open the bids and the contractors give us 2 prices, they'll be the same. That's great, or they'll be similar. And then you guys will decide at that point, that, yeah, we're doing Merthyr because that's our primary option.
Mhm.
So I think that's, again, from tonight's conversation, all we're doing is saying, let's give you guys as much options in 6 months as possible. That's all this is. It's not deciding Merthyr concrete, it's not deciding move the staff offices, keep the staff offices. It's just saying, we're trying to get flexibility so that we can accept that bid. That's all this is about. The bid decisions will happen in 6 months or whatever it is.
So what I understand though, from what you said, the third item is, it's not a deductive alternate option. It is choosing a direction.
No, Merthyr is a.
The third one.
Yeah, concrete versus Merthyr is.
No, the third one.
We're not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry, you're skipping ahead. That's okay. Or that's why I want to put this just as I want to keep these kind of separate from that other conversation.
And I'm not saying a lot because I've been in, I understand this whole thing because I've been in those JAC meetings, but I would reiterate again, because I know some people weren't here last week when I made that comment that, and this is probably to Matt's point, you know, we told the public they were gonna have this facility and it included those party rooms and certain elements. So we take that away, you know, you are going to have people say, well, why exactly this isn't what you told us we were going to get. And I know I get the budget part of it. I just want people to keep that in mind that as we start to take things away, that's also not what we told people they were gonna get.
But nothing's being taken away here.
I
And
know.
I think in 6 months or whatever it is, you can go to the public and say, we got 2 quotes and we got the quote with that. Then maybe the quotes will come in favor.
And I'm in favor of
Yeah.
that. I just want it on people's
I get it.
consciences though, because somebody's gonna come to the community and they'll say, Krista, that's not the
I get it.
design that you showed us.
Totally.
So,
Yeah, I think people also appreciate cost relations. and
We're
things.
also, you know, gonna do the best of, you know, with what we got. And it's the aquatic center. It's not the party room center. It's the aquatics.
Gonna be good. Gonna be good.
it'll be good.
And yeah, these are the tough decisions we're gonna have. But tonight, what I'm asking is if you'd allow these to become deductible items. That's all we're asking. And then ARC will just put that when the bid packet comes together, they will make them. So that you guys get both quotes. That's the only thing for this part. So,
Just my 2 cents. Under promise and over deliver versus getting bids where none of it happens.
Yeah.
Because that.
so if you guys are in favor, then I would open up our motion that we're gonna have these into the deductible option. Add these 3 items, that's what I options. When I give that to yours.
But isn't there more to come? Or
There is, I'd like to separate that because of the different kind of conversation, because that one needs to be, that one's not a deductible option item.
Yeah, and my personal feeling on these 3 is that third one that has not been through the JCC, that's our biggest long-term maintenance and operations difference between that, you know, Oak Harbor, we toured Oak Harbor and they had brand new concrete pool that they had just had to drain the entire pool, close the facility for, I don't know how long, week, and regrout the entire thing because of a 1 weekend accident during an open swim. And that's the concern with a gunite pool or a shotcrete pool or concrete pool in general. And, you know, so say it is a $500,000 savings. I mean, the potential maintenance and operations cost downside of that, I think, is not in our best interests because of the risk that any of those things, like what happened in Oak Harbor, could happen at any time and more than once. And in the case of the Merthyr pool, it's got a 25-year warranty. And if something like that happens, it won't because it's not that same construction. But if it did, they fix it under warranty. So I think the third one to me is not a great idea, but that's my opinion.
You can choose to put it on the list for now and have that argument in 5 months too. That's another thing that's makes you don't have to decide. Yet you want it or not. I think everyone agrees that Berkeley would be a better option.
So, and how long of a warranty are you gonna get if it's concrete or during the construction?
If it's a what?
What
If
are
it's a
they
what?
gonna?
Concrete.
Yeah, if you go to the concrete, there's gotta be some sort of warranty on it.
Yeah, no, typically, I don't think there is a warranty on a concrete pool.
Nice to
Just
ask the
'cause-
question.
Other than insurance.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not a standard practice. Because, I mean, it's your chemistry. They're not showing up for you controlling chemistry.
I would just think you're paying that much money that there's gonna be some sort of guarantee it's not gonna fail a year.
Yeah, I think that's not likely for that kind of construction. I mean, I think what you said is correct. It's a lot of money, but I don't think that because again, any warranty like that would say, this is contingent on you guys maintaining proper chemistry control to some degree. And in the case of Oak Harbor, they lost it because a kid had an accident in the pool. So, it's like I'm sure you couldn't defend that even if you did have a warranty, because you did lose chemistry control. It wasn't anybody's fault per se from an operation standpoint. It just happened. It was the user, but it's a question we should ask.
Those are all, they're all good points. I would say for this meeting, all these things we'll be discussing and debating as we get closer. All we have to decide tonight is if you want to keep it, which I strongly recommend. At this point, there's just not a downside to making these options and arguing about them down the line if needed.
I'd like to talk about them.
Yeah, when we actually have the real numbers.
Yes.
So that point, we'll have the real numbers.
Yeah.
So then I would just look for,
Now, does it,
I would just look for a motion to make those all 3 items and after alternate items. So
I will make a motion to make those 3 items deductive alternate option.
I will second that motion.
My clarification for Harry. So a motion has been made and seconded to approve these 3 items as deductive alternate items. Do they need to be specified, or will they be specified in the notes based upon the slide so that we can take this motion and carry it forward as presented?
it's in the memo too.
So inference and inclusion in the notes is sufficient. Proposed all 3 items.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is sufficient.
Thank you. Right, it has been moved and seconded to approve the 3 items as deductive alternate items. All those in I'm holding.
To your point, do we need to call out the numbers in the memo? Which ones?
I don't think so, because there's only 3 that specifically were, if you were only gonna do 2 of them, then yes. Essentially doing all 3. The third one here is not a deductive option. So really, I think the way it's stated is clear because cross references with the board.
Okay.
Right, it's been moved and seconded to approve these 3 items as deductive alternate items. All those in favor say aye.
Erica.
Krista, I.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay.
Matinee.
Right, the ayes have it and motion passes.
So then we'll break into the second item, which is the more, I don't say controversial, but the more pressing one. This one, we're revisiting something we talked about in July and you approved in July. And the only reason it's coming back in front of you is because of the fact that the budget is an important topic. And this is the other item that does have significant savings. I don't know in the July meeting, I gave you the specifics of the dimensions. The original plan had a deck space of 11 feet 6 inches. At Krista's recommendation, you saw the model out front. They kind of showed that size of the deck space. And on the east side, which is the shower end of the pool, is 9 feet 6 inches. The expansion, and I'm actually changing this from the memo. I think the correct way to do the expansion would be to add all of the footage to the east side of the pool, I'm sorry, the west side of the pool, which is where the diving platforms are. So if you did that, it would make the west side of the pool 14 feet 8 inches, an extra 3 feet and 2 inches, leaving the east side of the pool 9 feet 6 inches. As I said in the memo, both ARC and the foundation do not recommend this. ARC for architectural reasons, they think it adds more to the overall building to have this with it. The foundation obviously likes the idea of the deck space because they're looking at swim meets and other events. I would just remind the board that the budget decision falls on you guys to show this. So this is ultimately not a programming decision as much as it is a financial decision. And the question becomes, and last thing I'll think we've already discussed, the approximate savings on this is about $475,000. That reflects about $130,000 that 30,000 of design fees would have been lost. So really the savings should be a little over 600,000. But because ARC has started in July working on this, there'll be about $30,000 in design fee cost. And then because it took them a couple of weeks to expand the deck and work on it, they have to maybe another 2 weeks to take it out, which would be a month of escalation cost, which is where the 100,000 comes in. So that's why the savings would be 475 instead of higher, because there would be some lost cost to changing our mind.
Question about that. But they've been working towards adding this like foot to one side and 2 feet to the
Right.
other. If it changes to having all of having it all on one side, that's going to be some sort of cost as
Very
well.
little, he said, it's just lighting the pool at that point. It's not messing with the overall frame of the building,
Okay.
like moving the 3 feet did, like adding the 3 feet did. But he goes, moving the pool within the current structure is just sliding overhead. So he said that was very minimal to do.
Okay,
That was actually one of the JACC members' suggestions that at the time we thought would cost more. So when I asked ARC, they were like, no, that's simple. That's just moving the pool a foot one direction. Oh, they're like simple sounds inexpensive. Anyways, it's a big savings for those 3 feet. And so I think it's worth another discussion. And now this is another thing that has to be final. This is not something we can put off. This is if you want to make this change, it has to be tonight. Otherwise it's going to stay longer. So anyways. Open for
And again,
discussion.
this, do you remember from this discussion that space is based on the meeting we had with Snohomish Aquatic Center and their cost recovery, which is benchmark for the region at almost 100%. And their single biggest point of feedback on our layout was to increase this space, increase the deck space to be able to support the events that will contribute to cost recovery. So to me, I think is another operational maintenance and operations one where, any savings that we get now, we're going to pay back much more significantly in lost maintenance and operations cost recovery. And if you look at this like as a deductive alternate, it doesn't really, I'm no expert in architecture and construction, but a deductive alternate where you have to change the layout of the building to deduct it is something that I think you end up losing it anyway. It's going to be a wash because they'd have to redesign the building to move structure, load bearing walls and that kind of stuff. So to me, it doesn't really fit as a deductive alternate. So this one,
It can't be, that's not an option. The option is change it tonight or leave it the way it is. So this is a tonight decision.
I would request, there was a slide that had ARC's comments.
Yep.
And maybe review those first.
We'll have that. This was the email from Paul Curtis regarding the ARC's recommendation. Sorry, I apologize. Put that up too fast and make it larger so I can make this long.
Yeah.
It's not blocked. Oh,
Okay, we got some glare.
okay, now I just made it bigger, sorry. There we go. You want me to read it?
Yeah, actually, yeah, there's like the line, the light glare is.
This is Paul's email, said, since the 607,000, which is without the lost cost, is roughly what was added, with the pool expansion or the deck expansion. You can expect to save roughly that amount by going back to the DD plan, except for the fall. We have to check back with our consultants, but there'd be approximately $30,000 in design fees. It took ARC 2 weeks to make the initial modifications and then another 2 weeks for civil landscape to make theirs, which would be required before we resubmit the master use permit. Since this is a critical path, the month delay would translate in a month to a month delay in bidding, which would be estimated before it's about $100,000. That's the estimation cost. Lastly, there's a few unexpected and non-monetary benefits of leaving the plan in the current state. Obviously, the larger deck space is useful and allows for a greater diversity of programs and uses. The lockers also get a square footage boost. And some of the areas that were very tight now are feeling more comfortable. Fitting a bathroom, remember we're moving the bathroom into the main part of the lobby. Where the vending machines were before would have made the fitness room too tight in the east-west direction. Whereas with the extra space, we can now make the bathroom work. I questioned him on that because he makes it sound like the bathroom won't work if we don't do this. He corrected himself and said, no, we can make it work either way. It just works easier with this there.
Okay.
So that rate is, given the real savings, 477. We highly recommend looking elsewhere for the savings. Now that sounds nice, but that's a lot of savings.
Aren't they taking away the original hallway to access all those different rooms if it's just a bathroom and multi-purpose room?
If that be part of yeah, if it's a deductible, if that deductible alternate is accepted, yes. Yeah.
I have one more question.
Sure.
How many feet? So we're talking about the deep end of the show, right? The deep end. What about on the sides? The other
Sides were not touched as furnace.
What is that?
Oh.
Anybody know? Anybody have an
I
idea?
have it in my office in a binder. I don't have it handy with me right now.
There's bleacher space in there too, and Stevie on that shirt.
Okay, so, how I've been thinking about this is, yeah, events are great, wonderful. But one of the major reasons why this project is happening is for safety. It's for water safety reasons for the community. So instead of thinking about swim meets, I was thinking about what space is needed for lifeguard training, kayak skills, things like that. Because really, for me, that is paramount for why we're doing this. Is there enough space to run safety programs? Swim lessons, that's. Yeah, I would love to have a big invitational swim meet. That would be fantastic. But what is more important to the community? And can we provide what we need to provide for our community without that extra space?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I think you're supporting the expanded space because when we toured Snohomish, they were doing a water safety class there for 25 people, and they were using up all the available deck space with that equipment. And like if you imagine, you just said kayak safety. I mean, those extra 3 feet mean space for 2 more kayaks, which means 6 people can be in the class instead of 3 people or whatever. So to me, I think that's an even stronger argument to say this needs to be retained.
So would you like to clarify?
No, actually, so in actually walking through the plotted out example out in the parking lot, you are spot on. It would add exactly 2 kayaks. and only 2 kayaks. It sounds like between what is already there, as well as space along bleachers and along the sides, there's plenty of room for what that pool could hold for a safety car.
So that's why you were asking, what are the size?
Exactly. To get to understand the whole pool, right? Like, so,
When I first saw this, Granite Falls came to mind. Granite Falls basketball courts, for years, somebody planned that basketball court, and I don't know how many games we played there. And yes, you had a gym, you had a full court basketball court, but if you took it out on the baseline, you literally had this much space. And if you're a basketball coach or player, you know that that does not work, right? And someone's drawing, they said, oh, we're gonna make a gym. Now they've since revamped that, but that came to mind for me right away. I'm not a swimmer, so I don't understand, I don't have the logistics on how much space you need for a meet. But my opinion is, as of right now, that I haven't heard a legitimate argument as to why that would diminish anything from a meet to an event like Chris was talking about. And if we were in a different place financially and everything was great, I would say, yeah, add deck space, but we're not. And so in my mind, I haven't been given a sufficient reason as to why that's going to be absolutely necessary. I want it like anybody else does, but I'm also being realistic about the financial picture we're in.
Brian,
Mhm.
the photos that you shared with us from the Anacortes School, have you heard back from them?
I just checked my email for the meeting, I have not. What she's referring to is, Sky had referenced the Cordes pool is kind of a pool that does a lot of larger meets. With multiple schools, et cetera. I do have this joke, Chris, which might be that's just the lap pool though. And so we've taken some pictures of kind of where, like what it looks like when their swim meet is going in. And because Sky said their deck space seems pretty small. And I reached out to the aquatics manager today, that it was middle of the afternoon, she was not.
but there's a huge space over
Correct.
here.
So
Brian, you referenced that you have the dimensions that Krista asked for in a binder in your office. Is that something you could easily put your fingers on? I mean, I know you're in the throes of packing for moving, but in the interest of
Lining up.
answering that question, is
Yes.
it easily obtained?
It can be.
Yeah.
You want to discuss for a second?
Not so you over here. Do you know what I mean? Like, are we gonna be able to have like
because you hear,
5
they don't
feet
have this
behind
side
the?
there.
No, but you can definitely have at least the next heat and maybe the heat after that.
And,
Yeah.
but
No, I'm
the
with you. I
pictures
understand.
together are helpful because we can see where they're lined up on this wall. This isn't so great, so there is, right?
Right,
Yeah.
and what you're not seeing is over
Over
here,
here, right,
over
that's-
here
that's what I meant.
is a huge space, like that's where all the teams
You're gonna
go.
have this space and you're gonna have separate benches over here and a space as well.
Right. So in
We
terms of,
have this.
bringing in boats, right, let's say for a kayak class, and if we're gonna use sea kayaks, right, not just like river ones, right? But if we use seas, they're 16 feet. If we can get, we could get at least 4 of them over here in that space, that we had out there. And 2, we put 2 in the pool, you bring in 2. I don't see classes more than 8 kayaks aren't gonna fit in that pool anyway.
This one's the telltale right there.
Yeah, where the kiddo's sitting in the chair and.
You can tell his back's against the wall right there. Should be a problem.
I must have moved it over to the other location, but I do have this may not give us the exact footprint right now, but we'll kind of give us an overview as a reminder of the kind of the layout of what it'll look like. You should call this a test. I'm gonna shrink it so you can see that a bit easier. So again, this isn't gonna give us quite all the logistics, but
So that's the deep end.
so the west side is the deep end, so this is the space we're talking about. So yeah, so unfortunately I don't have that. I have a cheat sheet of this, all the dimensions that I must have moved.
Okay, the bleachers are over there.
Yeah, the middle part won't be a bench seat. We're going to squares around the two poles that come down, right?
What actually we left off on is just removing it and figuring it out after it's
Oh,
done.
that's right.
So this middle section right now, we're gonna add benches or seats or whatever. After,
Once the space is
once we're there, we can kind of get.
visualize it.
That was one of the smart, I thought that was one of the smart recommendations that JCC made. That was what made a lot of sense. So,
Which actually increases deck space overall, depending on if it's removable seating, then now
you can go over for, in a bench or something like that. So sorry, I don't have a better version than this, but, just kind of looking at an overview of the building there.
But we know with
Yeah.
certainty, we do know with certainty that it's walkable around. The question is whether or not.
I think 6 feet's the minimum they can do on sites and the thing else.
Again, I just tried to think about all the stuff, right? So if you're doing lifeguard training, you're gonna have maybe, back braces and extra ropes and, medical stuff, right? Paddle boards, anything that they're narrow, they'll fit anywhere. I was just trying to have some real case usage beyond swim meets. But of all the different ways that these pools are gonna support the community.
Right, and I would just say we have the committee that is recommending against this and our architect who's saying they recommend strongly against changing it, so I think that there's some expertise and experience that I personally would recommend leaning on.
Money decision. I mean, really, because I think everyone agrees 3 feet more would be better. I think that would be a better, because you can't add it like, right, you can't, 5 years from now, you can't say, we want an extra 3 feet on our pool, can't do it. So it is a permanent decision, but it's a money decision, so, $500,000. It gets you closer to your target goal. So this was gonna be the tough decision of the night, there was no doubt about it, so. But ultimately, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I would just offer one more point of information anyway, is that, the estimates that we have that were on, Brian, on your PowerPoint there with 27 million, 28, 29, 30, 31. These are still early estimates relatively in the grand scheme of the project. And if you look at the $31 million estimate, it's roughly $1,300 a square foot. And at the $27 million estimate, it's roughly $1,100 a square foot. So in the range of the projects that were done in the last 5 years, Skagit YMCA and William Shore and Port Angeles, those are significantly higher. So just in terms of getting first those quotes from the first, the round of general contractors, just my personal feeling is we're on the high side. We don't have a really great idea what the cost is going to be, but we're pretty well biased high at $1,100 to $1,300 a square feet a foot. So to me, I think I don't personally have the feeling of we're in crisis, because I don't think they know that well. And I think when I hear 1,300 a square foot, and I know Skagit was built at something like 400, and William Shore is kind of confusing because it was a remodel, but it was certainly less than 1,000. I don't have that personal, feeling of over a $500,000 change. The estimate is not that accurate anyway. So it's just my own opinion.
I will, just because I haven't said this yet, but the staff recommendation on this would be to go back to the original size. Like, I think the 3 feet. I think money is the big issue right now. I would love to get to the point where the bids are open and we've got extra money to put some of the stuff that we've had to take out of them back into them. And have that kind of flexibility. But ultimately, it's the board of each decision. And, if someone feels like it should be taken out, then I would entertain a motion for that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but at the last JACC meeting, the consensus was as well, if there was an item that we put back in and everything goes better, then everything goes in a good direction, that the first item would be that extra pool deck.
But it can't, it's not, you can't, it impacts too many other parts of the pool to take it in and out. That's why this is a tonight decision. Either it goes in and it stays in, this conversation's over, or it comes out, it stays out, and this conversation goes.
Because I know that came up, I understand what you're saying, but I get it. I think that's,
Yeah, JCC made no official
we didn't have that
recommendations.
discussion at that meeting.
Right, they made no official recommendations on any of the items. Their input verbally was, of the three items in order, the staff offices, the party rooms, and the deck space. That's the order that they, if they were gonna support cutting things. And again, Murtha wasn't brought before them at that point, so they didn't consider that.
Would the community want another 3 feet? Or would they want party rooms?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't propose that as a trade. I think you made a point earlier, Krista, that this is an aquatic center. So if we had to bias, I'd bias towards the aquatic side.
All the water recreations.
But like, that's what it might come down to.
So the other day, we did the walk around with one of the interested parties,
Project manager.
project editor. And we asked the question, where he is seeing projects coming in, is the likelihood it's going to come in under or over? He said the likelihood is what he's seeing is over. And I mean, the biggest thing you guys have got to look at on Whidbey Island, you're bringing everything here, including the people that are going to build it. There's nowhere to stay. The costs are going to be escalated. I deal with it every day in everything I buy. So they're giving us a pretty fair price. Just getting everything here, people included, is going to potentially be more. That's real world, what I deal with day to day.
So a lot to consider. Like I said, we all knew that this was going to be the big item of the night as far as the toughest decision of the night. I'm back on you guys. You guys feel strong enough to make a motion, or do you want to move on?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say I'm a no. Just my personal vote is a no.
Then we have a motion, so we're not gonna. We're gonna move this. A friend in the room.
He's almost, unless you're right back here.
Krista just stepped out. Should we adjourn for a short break? Yeah. He's looking at the parking lot. Okay. Yep. I'm sure I can pause recording. Okay, so we'll take a 5-minute break. You wanna-
Or?
Yeah.
Do we need to adjourn it and then come back for a potty break?
I think just pause the recording for a second. Yeah, Scott, you know how to pause the recording? Right now I can stop it, but I don't want to have two different recordings that we pause.
You pause it. I think it just stops and goes.
I think you can. Oh, maybe I can stop and then start again?
Yeah, I'll just have this 2 separate ones.
I don't just,
Yeah, then you're gonna have to know.
oh, but if I get mute on the mic,
You can mute the mic.
and then they wouldn't. Matt, we'll be back in a few minutes. They're doing bathroom breaks right now.
Okay.
All right, Matt, we are back. Thank you for your patience. Challenges of being off-site. We are back in
Okay.
session. Even off
I
where
can
we
hear
left
you.
off. Oh, good.
I can hear, I can hear you just fine.
So, I mean, at this point, I think we've heard opinions and discussions unless another comments. The only question left is does anyone want to make a motion to just reduce the deck, or are we okay with it at the expanded size and on the lawn?
I would like to make a motion to go back to the original size of the deck.
And I will second that motion.
Has been moved and seconded to go back to the original size of the deck. All those in favor say aye.
Eric,
Krista, I.
Jennifer, aye. All opposed, say nay.
Matt, nay.
The ayes have it and the motion passes. We will go back to the original size of the deck.
In a better world, I would vote differently, but I already talked about why I was leaning that direction, just to be clear. Just, you know, we're in a different time right now.
Oh, that was a tough one. Should put this item last because you guys just want to hear this. I promise you the rest of.
Oh, we're not done?
No, we haven't gotten to business, no. But I promise you the rest of the stuff will not be so difficult, I hope. I think it's pretty straightforward. So, all right.
Right, we will move on to new business. Asphalt of the maintenance shop.
All right, in this year's budget, we have $60,000 to replace the existing.
It was nice.
Thank you, Brenda.
To replace the existing well pump. Dealing with the consultants on the pool, it was decided that we should wait on the well pump to see if it ties into the new aquatic project. So we're taking that 60,000 from this year's budget, putting it into next year's. But what the idea that came, I forget if it was Tom or Carrie that had the idea. We have $60,000 in next year's budget to finish the asphalt project for the maintenance shop. And they are on site this week doing asphalt. So the idea was, let's basically flip flop the asphalt for the maintenance shop that was in next year's budget with the well pump. And get Craig, who's on site, Craig Construction, to get us an updated quote. And the updated quote to finish the maintenance shop was $33,000, which is obviously a lot less than the $60,000 we had budgeted because they're here. So what Craig has done is agreed to do the sports complex as they finished and to hold up on the maintenance shop until you guys had a chance to vote on this. So what I'm asking is, there's another part of this, I'm sorry. In addition to the savings, we owe one more year, $6,300 on the maintenance shop bill, which would be paid next year logically. I'm also suggesting that we take that and just pay it off now. Let's just get out of that debt. It's a small debt left since we have this extra money this year that, because the asphalt came in so inexpensive. So what staff is recommending is approving, authorizing Craig Construction to finish the asphalting job in the shop at the cost of $33,110 plus tax. And then additionally, we would take and pay off the maintenance shop a year early with some of the extra funds that are there.
So do we need a motion for that payoff, or do we just need a motion for the?
Technically, it's in my signing authority, so not really.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so I think what we just really need is the motion to authorize Craig to finish the job.
Here,
I would suggest that we go ahead and put it in the motion
We certainly can.
because it's part of the budget, right? So we're changing our budget this year.
do you want two separate motions, or can it be accomplished in one?
One good.
Okay, so a motion, I will make a motion. Authorizing pre-construction to finish the asphalting of the maintenance shop. At the cost of $33,110 plus tax. And using some of that savings to pay off the maintenance shop debt at a cost of approximately $6,300.
I will second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded to approve authorizing Creek Construction to finish the asphalting of the maintenance shop at a cost of $33,110 plus tax. And using savings from the budget to pay off the maintenance shop at a cost of approximately $6,300. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, I.
Aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes.
Oh, there's the.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to the preliminary 2025 budget draft.
All right, well, a lot of fun stuff coming up. Next month is our budget workshop, so you have the draft of the budget in your packet for your review. Obviously, this is an initial draft, informational only tonight. A couple of notes as you're looking through it. There is $20,000 budgeted for election costs. We have 3 commissioner positions open next November. We made the decision, the capital budget has contained things like picnic tables, benches, and trash cans. We just moved that into the M&O because that's as needed stuff. It's not really capital. We have the Toro Ground Master is budgeted 107. We'll talk about that later in a different agenda item. Community center gym, we did some changes with how we track the community center gym rental fees. They're separated into budget lines versus disbursement of each program line. In previous times, it would be like pickleball, and then part of the gym cost would be attached to that. We just kind of separated, so we know we have to pay this much gym rentals, and you'll see when you get into it. Program employees are also separated into their own budget lines. This is an interesting thing that we had to do. The exempt staff, particularly Sky and Carrie's positions, on the salary scale, we're on grade 10. But what we found out last year, and you guys adjusted Sky salary accordingly, was the exempt staff have a minimum they have to make to be considered exempt staff. Well, that's climbed up to at least halfway at that grade 10. So it doesn't make sense to keep positions in grade 10, because if either of them were to leave, we'd have to start them at like step 6 just to have them in compliance with the law. So what we've done is we've moved them into grade 11, which is the next step down, and then just put them in the equivalent spot on the line item. So it just
Thereby making them non-exempt.
they're still exempt.
Oh.
What we did is we put them down a step on the salary scale so that the entire grade 11 is in compliance with the law. They have to, the first step of grade 11 is above the minimum that an exempt staff has to make. So that if a person were to get hired into this position, they could start at step 1. Right now, they couldn't do that with grade 10s. So all we did is put them down a step. That's all we did. They'll get a few extra steps at the end of their time, and so it wasn't really a big hit on the budget. It was just, does that make sense? They're gonna go.
Yeah, remind me what is it? What is it? What is the dollar amount in the law?
The exempt threshold.
Yes.
60.
It hasn't been set yet.
It changes every
Twenty
year.
25.
So what's the 2024? Is it 563 million? Is there?
All the budget, we can show a copy of the salaries.
Yeah, 62 machine.
If you look at pull up the salary scale from this, you can kind of do a visual. So if you look at this is the salary scale from 2024. There we go. That's a visual. So
67.
you see,
67.
So the
67.
Is the current for
correct
2024?
threshold is, 67, 720.
so you see, this is where we move Sky up because you have to be at step E just to be in compliance. So it doesn't make sense to have staff on a grade that they can't. So
I generally follow COLA.
There's been like an implementation schedule, and it does equal to a certain amount of hours, I believe, related to,
Or is it related to
minimum
CPI?
wage and,
Okay, but.
they just tell us what they have. to.
yeah, but, yeah. It was supposed to go up to about 70,000, but that's tentative.
They haven't even set final number yet, but grade 11, we're confident is going to be in compliance, and if not, we'll look at that again. We are scheduled, just from a scheduling standpoint, to do a salary schedule for all positions next year. So all this will be looked at. In addition, we're gonna add every aquatic position into that salary schedule. So when we hire someone to look at our positions, we're gonna ask them to look at every position, we're lifeguards, aquatic manager, every position we might possibly have. We're gonna have them give us something for that too, but that's a next year issue. But for this year, just an FYI, when you look at your budget, they're gonna see that that was a change. So let me get back to the list. 6-year forecast will be available soon. We face a couple of challenges with the coming opening of the aquatic center, which are going to result in higher expenses. For instance, our beginning cash requirement will be around 850,000, a big jump from its current 617. The levy requirement, 25% of expenditures will be approximately the same. But obviously, if we're putting aside so much based on our expenses are going up. So what we put aside is going to go up as well. Then a few other notes, one more note, if the pool opens prior to April of 2027, obviously we're going to need operation funds, which we talked about on the side, just because of the levy there. So your timeline, on the 4th of October, we should receive our initial property valuation from the county, which will help us with our levy calculations. We're asking any feedback on the budget come in by October 7th, initial feedback that we can include in the budget workshop. The board packet will be sent out on the 11th, on Friday, just like normal. 16th will be the budget meeting, followed by our regular board meeting, and then the budget hearings will be on the 20th of November. Regular board meeting night, followed by our regular board meeting. So just informational tonight, nothing, unless you have comments that you've already got on the budget, feel free to share, but otherwise we'll dive deeper into it next month at our workshop.
May I ask in advance for printed copies?
Yes, please.
Yes.
For the next draft or for this draft?
We're gonna be, I can print. Look at that. I can do it too.
And do you want me to, I guess it'll be,
I just print the packet that you just got.
Oh,
I can put that in for you tonight.
Great.
Yeah.
So what you gave us in the packet, this is what?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can, basically print that up.
No, it's okay, I can do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I can do it at work, I'll love my stuff, repeat next week.
You're pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I said, I think.
Oh, you want to know 11 by 17?
Yeah, I can print on this.
Let me tell you something. Kirsty, you're my kind of people. Yes, I can do that.
You can, okay.
I can,
I did that last year for us.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, I get it. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna scroll through the budget now. All right.
All right, so moving on to custodian services at the new location.
All right, due to a decreased workload, we're not renewing our custodial contract with R&R Cleaning, who does the cleaning here. As a reminder, they not only clean our side of the building, they also clean Island County, so obviously we're not gonna have the same needs over there. Sky found a connection, which is interesting. It's the Sherwood Community Services here on the island. The organization works with adults with disabilities, help them gain employment. Sky and I met with the gentleman who's a job coach. So basically what happens is that they work with the different individuals and their families. They find us a good fit. And then they come on site and they basically coach the individual to kind of how the job works. We thought, what a great use. And they said it could be as short as an hour shift. Some of them just do hour-long shifts. It doesn't have to be a day. So that's kind of what we're picturing. Someone who comes in once a week and they can vacuum and dust and wipe things down and just do some of the janitorial stuff that otherwise, we'll be doing the staff. But what a great way to,
Awesome.
give back to the community. From a budget standpoint, last year, we contracted about $6,000 for our cleaning. If we gave an hour a week we'd have to make this individual an employee, so they'd be a district employee, which is why we're talking about it. It would cost about $1,200 a year, so that's also a significant savings for the district.
Who cleans the bathrooms?
Yes, right now, if the contractor, the school district says it's between us and the other people. I think this person, I can see wiping down the sinks and things, but internally it's staff and with the other tenants on the other side of our room, we'll figure it out. It is not a lot of usage. It's not like, yes, I know.
Just ask.
That was part of our conversations. I would say, It was, anyways,
So when they come and do it, is there a supervisor?
it's a job coach.
Job.
So the job coach comes until that person has, as they said, mastered the job. And then if there's a problem, then we call the job coach, and there's also relationships with the family that will be built, so you can call the parents or the guardian to say. He gave us several examples of different places to do it. It just sounds like a great way to get back in. When we move into the aquatic center, an hour a week might be 2 or 3 or 4 hours a week, right? And we have much bigger, folding towels and cleaning up much bigger areas. So, yeah, I think it's a great fit, but it does require us creating a position we don't have, which we're calling the custodial one position. And that would require the board to approve. That's why it's so great.
And they have to be an employee.
They have to be employed. They are adults, so they're 18 and above, so that makes it simpler.
So in that $1,200 per year, that's figuring the tax costs and all of that.
Yeah, that's ballpark, obviously, but it's about $1. That's an hour a week for 50 weeks. So that's what they pay most every week. Yeah, that's. So we can do 2 hours, would be $2,400. That's just an example. So from a board standpoint, just prove that if you just approve the decision. I think in the budget, we put like $3,000 in the flag item just.
Okay, great.
Because we might need more custodial, maybe we need
Yeah,
a perfect cleaner to
exactly.
come in. We might need, beyond this person, we might also need other custodial stuff. Maybe we do a deep clean once a year, whatever. I mean, but for now, we're just asking you to approve the custodial one position so we can move forward with this company.
I would entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt, did you have any comments or questions? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I would entertain a motion then, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the 1,200 per year to Sherwood Community Services.
Can I clarify?
Can we
I
interrupt?
wouldn't do development. I would just, I'm asking to approve the position. Because the position could fluctuate depending on how many hours they work.
All right. Revise my motion to approving the creation of what do we call it?
Custodial one position.
Custodial one position. That's it.
That's it.
I'll second that.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to approve the creation of a custodial one position. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, I.
Aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, next on the new business is updates to the policy manual.
All right.
Resolution for the updates to the policy
Thank
manual.
you. In May, the board approved the updates to sections 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the district policy manual. At the August 21st meeting, the board approved sections 5 and 6 of the policy manual. A resolution is required to finalize the agreed upon updates. As I said last month, we came back, be back with a resolution, which is all this is staff recommending the board approve the resolution, which adopts all of the previous made upon approvals.
I love how you're putting language for us here in the memos. That's very,
I'm working on it.
very helpful. All right, there's no discussion. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to finalize the agreed upon updates to the policy manual.
Clarification, sorry. The motion needs to be to approve the resolution.
So,
That includes all the. If you just leave this, that's a check.
yeah, so the resolution 2024-07, which adopts all approved updates. Oh, the glare.
Oh.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
player gets in, right, okay. So, okay, I will make a motion to approve the resolution to update the policy manual.
You have to quote the resolution number, please.
Resolution number 2024-07, which adopts all approved updates.
I will second that motion.
-07, which adopts all approved updates. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion passes.
I think I unplugged the speaker, which I'm not going to try to figure out right now. Sky, can you try to figure that out? Because you're pretty good at this. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. It's something unplugged. Otherwise, you're going to hear Matt through my computer is the only difference.
These are all.
Yeah, and Matt's coming through my, I think when I moved it, I unplugged something. I don't see anything here. It's not the end of the world. It's just, it's still recording. It's just Matt won't be able to hear as well. Okay, we'll just speak loudly. And I can, there we go. Last time.
Maintenance capital purchases.
All right. In the 2025 budget draft are the replacements of two items that have been on the long-term replacement for a while. One is the Jacobson mower, which we got a quote for $107,000, and the replacement of the Kubota, which our replacement item was $37,100. Just like last year, we had to order these way in advance because it takes 6, 7, 8 months just to get it. We don't pay anything until it's received, and we can cancel it anytime. But because of the size of the orders, we're asking just for approval to place the order at this point. So what this would mean is Tom would get on and place the order with Toro for these items. And then when they're close to completed, which ideally is by spring, their busy season, then we would finalize the deal at that point. So. Oh, yes.
October. Divided this year's rate. After that.
For Matt's sake, I'm going to reiterate what he just said, which was by October, we lock in the 2024 rates. After October, they go up to the 2025 rate. So there's another reason to do it now versus waiting.
Now, it's 6 months to a year. So. Do it now, we're guaranteed we'll get the money off next year's budget.
Yeah. Nice. Pretty straightforward.
Well, we'll see the.
Yes.
I would entertain a motion.
I will make a motion, go ahead and. Correct?
Nope, you're recommending or you're approving the placing the order of the Jacobson mower and
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the placing of the order for the Jacobson mower and Kubota.
yeah, that works.
Second to approve placing the orders for Jacobson mower and the Kubota. All those in favor say aye. Christopher,
Matt, aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion passes.
Thank you.
To the end of our agenda, and so we will adjourn at 8:22.
Stop recording here for a second. Let me